Are you still not done with your picks yet?
Listen, a man's got to grind. I know we're not in football season yet, but sports betting still goes
I meant
hard.
your movie picks.
Oh. Yeah, no,
It's already dark out. We're starting late as it is. We were supposed to start 15 minutes ago.
Sun's getting real low, isn't it?
And whose fault is that?
You're right.
Sláinte.
Howdy. Jinx. Now that this is a Josh only cast.
I'll take the punch later.
Yeah, you would. Well, hello there.
Welcome back to
What if we, a podcast where we ask the question.
What if we talked about movies?
Ooh, I like this one.
I do love movies.
Movies are great, but before that, how are you?
I am ecstatic
Why are you ecstatic?
because I am no longer a teacher. Not that I really was to begin with.
Yes, the end of a school year, the end of an era, some might say.
Yep.
One who missed his real calling and another who should have never stepped foot into the classroom. Find out next week who that is.
Yeah. Little sneak peek. Normally we stay at the end, but next week we'll be talking about what if we stopped being teachers.
What if we talked about teaching and why we're not coming back?
Okay, yeah.
But
That is neither here nor there. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, so we'll talk more about this maybe. But in a job hunt right now, hit a bit of a low spot last week, and I know we talked about that privately off the air. But good. Starting to embrace summer. The florals are coming out.
I will have
Hawaiian shirts.
I'll have my Hawaiian next time.
But it's a beautiful evening weather.
Yeah, it's like high 60s.
Yeah, it's been great.
Bugs aren't really out yet. Just right.
Boys state baseball tournament is this week, so got them cheering on, and girls soccer state championship is being decided this week as well. So
nice.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. At least, I mean, at least in my neck of the woods,
in a change of pace kind of way.
Yeah, it's nice to just go and see the students, like, enjoy what they're good at, enjoy athletics, and kind of just have this
sport for the sake of sport.
Yeah, point. So it's nice.
Nice.
But yeah, no, things are going well.
Yeah, things are picking up on my end for the parish jobs. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that in a future episode probably. But things are picking up in a good way. I'm finally getting busy, and I like being busy when I work. I don't like not having things to do.
Right.
Idle hands and all that.
Yeah, idle hands are the devil's playthings.
Well, we said we were going to talk about movies this week.
Yes, we did. And I think both you and I, with our handy-dandy, non-sponsored electronics, with our non-sponsored beers.
Could be a sponsor, though.
Make sure the label's in the shot.
Could be a sponsor.
If you don't know anything about this beer, this is perhaps my favorite beer and one of Andrew's favorite beers.
It's my favorite, like, non-fruit beer.
Shiner Bock is near and dear to my heart, being a Texas native, and it being one of the many beers brewed in Texas. Perhaps I would qualify it as the official beer of Texas, brewed in Shiner, Texas, a place that you and I both went to, and maybe
the Spätzle Brewery.
Maybe we'll talk about that one day more.
We'll do a spring break episode.
Break.
So movies. As a concept, I love movies. That's something that I became known for at Franciscan, and just in general, like being a movie guy. Like, I have movie posters all through my house, in my office, many of which will be referenced today. That's why they became movie posters in my office, because they are my favorites and they have good posters.
And you became a movie Nazi, making sure nobody was watching movies that were not on the Vatican approved list.
That was my job. I also categorized all 327 movies in the Trinity Library based on, I made an Excel sheet for name, rating, genre, and something else. I don't remember, but like I spent
God bless.
like,
God bless.
Yeah. I love Excel sheets. I'm a nerd like that. But anyway, I love movies.
Freaking the sheets.
I've never been called that once. but no. So let's talk about why we love movies. Because movies, like I love TV too. We're of the generation where we are glued to the TV screen.
Yeah, no. I mean, movies are great. I don't have like a lot of movie paraphernalia in the sense of like movie posters and things like that, because I'm just not a big decor guy.
Yeah.
Like even in my classroom, there was like 3 things on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, in my house, like I have like religious artwork, but not necessarily movie posters. But I love a good movie.
Yes.
Some of the things that we've done together have been surrounded around this concept of TV and film.
Mm-hmm.
One of the last things I think you and I ever thought we were going to do together before COVID was watch a movie.
Yep.
And so it is still something that like we both enjoy some of the kind of like weird films,
but also some of the classics.
Yes.
Which you'll see on our list. And I think what we've kind of agreed is that we love about movies is TV allows for a long burn. Like DC does TV really well because they have these characters that need this long development. And you see the growth, and that's what allows them to do that. That's where they've struggled on the big screen. Is they have so much depth that it's hard to develop it. Whereas if you look at like the MCU from Iron Man to Endgame, each movie is like where you see growth within the movie, but you see it over the span of the movies. But it has to be a self-contained story. Still, it has to stand on its own.
Yeah, you have to reach a climax earlier in a movie than you do in a TV show.
A TV
series, right? You have to reveal the main conflict much earlier and things of that nature. Whereas like TVs, you can have more suspense towards like, I mean, one of the TV shows that I know your wife and I watched last summer was it NCIS? What is the one?
No, I was watching that.
Criminal Minds. Right. Most of the episodes had a contained story, but there was an underlying story.
You have like 2 plots. You have like the self-contained within there, but you have like this kind of trickle through.
But even other shows, you mentioned the DVC shows like Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. Like, you know, each episode in some ways contains its own self-contained story, whether it's focused on a particular character or things like that. But it's a 30-minute snapshot. But then there's that other underlining story. And you even had that in these larger now, like the MCU and stuff like that, these connected cinematic universes. But the great thing about movies is like this concept of the hero's journey that I think is found in so many films.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could talk all day about what we love about movies, but maybe we should talk about the movies that we love.
Yeah. So our task for this week was we had to come up with our top 5, and really what we came down to was really what's our number 1 movie, and then what's 4 other movies that are like top within their genre almost. I think it's kind of how we ended up doing it.
I think that's what you went with. I just went with what's my favorite movie and what's 4 other movies that I could watch over and over and over again.
We had some overlapping categories.
Yeah.
We found, but so let's start off with with number 5 on my list, which is my favorite sports movie.
Okay.
And this was hard to pick because I do love sports movies. I showed a bunch of them to my kids this year because I needed to show them something, and I needed something that was easy to give a story or plot to. These remember Titans, but the one that I love more than any other one, the only sports movie I have in a poster form is Miracle.
Do you believe in miracles?
Do you believe in miracles? So it came out in 2004, and it's the true story of Herb Brooks, the player turned coach who led the 1980 U.S. hockey team to a victory over the invincible Soviet squad. And the film's been out for 20 years. The event happened 44 years ago. I'm not spoiling anything at that point. You should have figured this out by now. But I just love how they have these actors who are playing acting parts, but I love that they found it was easier to train hockey players to act than actors to play hockey. I just love that this story of Herb Brooks rallying these young men fresh out of college and saying, everything you know about hockey, I need you to throw away the sense of self and look at yourself as part of the team. Mm-hmm. The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back. I just love that line, like the idea of like, you cannot win on talent alone. You have to win as a team. And it's this idea of family and brotherhood that they come together, they beat the seemingly unbeatable Soviets. And it's just the whole movie. They have great quotes throughout the whole thing. Kurt Russell does a great job playing Herb Brooks. who actually he was part of the film as far as like he was helping them make it. He unfortunately passed before he could see the finished product, but he was there giving them like, well, I did this for this reason, I made sure to include this. Just blew me away. One of my favorite I love Disney sports films. It was a hard pick,
not to,
but this was the one that I went with. This is the one I come back to several times a year.
Yeah, so going along with sports movies, this was, I put it as number 4 on my list, but since we went with sports movies, and you started off with that, I did Remember the Titans.
As I just mentioned.
You just mentioned this.
I made my students write a short essay on it.
Remember the Titans, The Blind Side, any of those sports movies. Big football movie fan in my household.
We are from Texas.
Being from Texas, but this was like one of the films that me and my dad really got to enjoy together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being from Texas and hearing this story of like Southern American culture of like integrating, African American schools with Caucasian schools. How is that going to go over? What's the tension like? And it's all, like, the story is not about football, but the football makes a great medium to tell.
It's a great backdrop.
Yeah. And you still get to watch some amazing scenes about football.
Think 23 blasts with a backside Georgia verse, like your life depended on it.
Amen. But yeah, no, I think that's one of my go-to films. Like, if I see it, and with any of these films, I'll mention, if I see it on television, I'm watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dad's like, how many times have you seen this movie? I was like, I don't care.
I watch it at least once a year. I usually watch more than that.
Yeah,
but it's just the pre-game speeches, the mid-game speeches that they have in there. Like that's one, like that and Miracle are like two staples for my. I need to get hyped up for a test, so I'm gonna listen to this speech while I do it. That's one of them.
Okay, so we decided to go back and forth, so I'll take the next one. So this is my number 5 pick.
Okay.
How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon. All right.
I'm a big fan of animated films. I love animated films. I love fantasy fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And How to Train Your Dragon, from the score to the storytelling, it just screams like peak filmmaking in the world of animation. And I like the story of like a downtrodden, out of his luck kid, kind of an outcast, trying to find his place in the world. And the way he does it, he's trying to be like everybody else.
Yep.
And the problem is, we can all observe this from our own life. And this is another thing I love about movies, is they're the stories of who we are.
Yeah.
If you try to be like someone else, well, I think if you just try to be somebody else, if I tried to be you and you tried to be me, we would be half-rate versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
And so being who you are meant to be is more important. Sometimes who you're meant to be looks like aspects of somebody else, but it's never carbon copy.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with aspiring to take on aspects of someone, but with Hiccup, it wasn't the cards for him.
No. And I mean, even like throughout the whole 3-film arc, because I don't like to talk about the TV shows or the movies that come after the 3rd film, because I think it's self-contained in that trilogy, the story that needs to be told. You see so much growth from not just Hiccup, the main character, but from all the characters, to the point where it's like, no, this is a story about how the world has changed by one person. So I really enjoyed that film.
It's got Gerard Butler in it, so it's got to be good.
It's got Gerard Butler in it. It's a great film. All right, your number. Well, what's your next?
So this was I don't again, mine aren't really in a specific order. So this was kind of like, I was like, I'll let you finish coughing up your lung. This is my family action adventure, and I went with Speed Racer, the 2008 Speed Racer film, live action. Mm-hmm. This was one of my favorite movies when it came out. It came out when I was about 10, something like that, and I loved it because of how campy it is, and like it was kind of a box office.
Campy.
It's very campy. I showed it to you about a month ago.
A little over a month ago when we were first talking about this.
Yeah, and the thing I loved about it is it kind of set the stage. It was ahead of its time as far as like the CGI campiness.
The CGI was very good.
Bright colors, bright noises.
The score was great.
I love the plot. It's campy, but they're trying to take this cartoon and turn it into a live action film, and that's always something you're going to struggle with, trying to find that balance. But what I love about it is the idea, this message of family first. And you get this line.
So you really like Fast and Furious?
I've seen Tokyo Drift one time. That's it. But what I loved about it is you see the growth in the characters, and I think the thing that sums up the whole thing is you have his older brother who dies, and right before he dies, his dad and him are having a fight, and he says, "If you walk out that door, don't you ever dare come back." And it's just this idea that he sees what happened, and he tore his family apart by this decision to exile his son, which I don't want to spoil too much of this because this part I really want you to get. It's not a historical event. But then when Speed's going through the same thing and his dad recognizes he's going through the same transformation, he says, if you walk out that door, it's always going to be here for when you want to come back. He recognizes the importance of keeping his family close. Not strangling them, but keeping them close enough that he allows them to grow. It's that give and take of parenting. I just love the action in it. Everything about it, it was perfect for 10-year-old Andrew.
Perfect.
And I still love it to this day.
Perfect. All right, what's your next one?
So next we're going kind of in the staying within the action, but less family friendly. I'm going with my top Western. And this was hard.
Oh, yeah.
This was hard because I do love John Wayne. I'm a big fan of the Duke.
John Wayne, yeah.
But I had to go with Tombstone.
It's a great film.
It's a great film.
Good film.
Again, Kurt Russell. He's made the list twice.
I feel like he makes the list a lot more than that.
I think he makes it in my other one. Anyway, it's not important. So, we have Tombstone, 1993. So it's not the oldest movie on my list, but it's an older one. You have the successful lawman's plan. He's going to retire in Tombstone, Arizona, and then this gang of outlaws has been causing problems. His brother's the sheriff. His other brother kind of becomes deputy. And he's like, screw it, I guess I'm part of this now. But I love the friendship aspect. So you have the family aspect, which I think is important, and you see how close he is with his brothers. Mm-hmm. But Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp together. Mm-hmm. One of Val Kilmer's top 5 performances right here. I mean, top 3. But when he's dying and everyone's asking, like, why are you pushing yourself so hard for this guy? You literally have tuberculosis. You are coughing up a lung. And he just says, Wyatt Earp's my friend.
Wyatt Earp's my friend.
I don't have that many friends. And I was like, and when that hit me, like, it's just how
you don't have that many friends.
Okay.
Neither do I. Let's be fair.
The friends that I have, I keep close and I treasure them, and I will, I'll move a mountain for my friend. I just love that. And it's you got the action, you got the real, it's based off real events. They take some liberties with, but you're just showing this great, example of what the Wild West like. It wasn't all just horseshoes and a dream, but it wasn't all just terrible like you see in A Million Ways to Die in the West. They show a really good kind of balance of both things. I just really loved. Yeah. I just loved all the action, and I'm a sucker for a good cowboy story.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. All right, my number 3 film, Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Another animated film, so 2 animated films back to back. But that film was gorgeous.
Yeah.
From top to bottom, I mean it.
Visually and audio, the score
music was great, the score was great. Once again, I like the story of like a kid who doesn't find
he's trying to figure out
his place in the world. And he's given this opportunity to do something great with his life.
Mm-hmm. It's really, greatness is thrust upon him.
And here's the thing, he doesn't have to choose it.
Yeah.
He's given the out. He can go back to his ordinary life and nobody would know.
You're scaring me with your iPad, just holding it like that, no case.
That's I got good fingers.
All right.
I actually have man hands, unlike you.
Yeah, shut up.
But he's given this opportunity to be great, and then he's also given the opportunity to, don't worry about it, kid. We'll take care of it. And instead, he says, no, this is my story.
He owns it.
He owns it. He owns that he's not perfect, that he's learning. He's got to take that leap of faith. And that scene where he jumps off the glass window, like when he decides to take that literal leap of faith, I'm like, oh, such an amazing scene. I just love that film.
I dig it.
All right. Number 2 film. Are you ready? Because I changed this one.
You did change this one.
And I changed it twice, actually.
Oh, okay. Now this is total canon reaction right here. We got
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Oh.
Entering into Hogwarts the first time. Oh. They really did an amazing. Say what you will about certain aspects of the films. Mm-hmm. I think with all 8 films, they did an amazing job.
They took a very complicated story that you could have done a TV show with,
Yeah.
and instead decided to make it into a film. I think they did a very good job keeping it true to the books.
Yeah, I mean,
by and large,
there was changes to the story, but I don't think those changes. There was changes to certain aspects, but I don't think it changed the story as a whole.
Yeah. And you have such like amazing actors, like you got Emma Watson, you got Danny Radcliffe, Maggie Smith.
I mean, you had actors who nobody like. I mean, yes,
they're great now, at least in some.
People knew about Maggie Smith because she'd been acting for a while.
Richard Harris, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
When they had to switch him, and I think the third one, because he made it for the first two. I think he died before the third one.
No, he was in the third one.
I'm gonna fact check that one.
Yeah, you fact check that one. But I mean, you had amazing actors who now are, acting in all sorts of films, and some who are just like, I was just in it for the childhood acting part. You don't really hear a lot from Tom Felton anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really hear a lot from.
They switched to Michael Gambon on the third one. So
okay.
So you have Richard Harris for the first two.
Yeah, you don't really hear a lot about
Rupert
Grint at all.
He has an ice cream truck. That's what he's known for now.
And I think that's great.
He's not wallowing in his childhood dreams. He's like, I did the acting thing. I did a really good job. I don't have to keep doing it.
No, and I think that's beautiful given how many stories come out about child actors now.
Yeah.
And it's great to see that in some ways these actors were spared from that.
Yeah. And they had a nice
and they can go on and live happy and healthy careers.
Mm-hmm.
And just the magic that was captured, get it, magic? Yeah. That was captured the first time we saw Hogwarts as they floated on these boats. Oh.
And like, you have to think, this is 2001.
Yeah.
Like, they managed to capture all this stuff with really pretty basic cinematography by nowadays. Like, there's not as much CGI was not a big thing in the 90s and early 2000s. It was really expensive and it didn't look great, and they still managed to make it look amazing.
Yeah, so great film, definitely worthy of a number 2 spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your number 2.
Well, I'm gonna kind of jump back in time to 1992.
Back in time.
And I'm gonna go with Army of Darkness.
Yes.
Now, I know I have like 3 action adventure films at this point.
Yeah, you've got to. You and I both have a type.
I have a type, and Sam Raimi as a director, he's one of my favorites. Bruce the Chin Campbell.
This is a great film.
I love it because I've spent a long time like learning about Bruce Campbell. I've read all of his autobiographies, all of his essays and things like that, and it talks about how they made Army of Darkness. And they're basically like, look, the first one was their proof of concept with Evil Dead. They're like, let's see if we can make a film. That was their first feature-length film that they got to produce and everything. Then they had a couple of flops. And like, well, let's go back to what we know that went well. So they made Evil Dead 2. For Army of Darkness, they're like, we've got the formula. Let's go have fun with this.
Army of Darkness was so good. So I watched it with our longtime family that adopted our friend group in college,
mm-hmm.
the LeBetties. Shout out the LeBetties. But that movie was so good.
It's just so quotable. It's like quintessential, like late 80s, early 90s action films where they have great one-liners.
Yeah, it very much reminds me of like a Conan the Barbarian because
Conan the Barbarian, if he was goofy. Like just a dumb jock, like a goofy jock rather than just a big jock. But like you have things like like you have this moron of the future who has become like, you see the hero's journey again. You have each self-contained movie like within the trilogy, but there's overarching plot. You have Ash being like a scared jock to kind of like, okay, maybe I've done this before, I can handle it, to becoming a full-on leader of men. And I just love how you take this dumb story, this Three Stooges comedy, and you can tell who made it, because this is Sam Raimi. He's got the quintessential shots, the shaky cam and everything, and I know all this stuff because I got to read about how they made and all the dumb things they did. But it's literally, they took all their childhood icons and said, I want to incorporate all of these into one film. And I love it.
No, it's a great film. All right. Honorable mention
time.
And the number 1? All right. You go first.
Some of my honorable mentions, one we both had was Oppenheimer. We've only seen it once, but we saw the crap out of it.
It's such a good movie.
We dressed up in 3-piece suits with the fedoras. We walked into the theater. I was like, you here for Barbie? And saw it. Like, we drove an extra, 30 minutes
to go see it in IMAX.
It was beautiful.
And the star-studded cast. I mean, yeah, so that also was on my honorable mention list. So, I mean, you had everybody in there who were
Josh Peck.
He's in there. He's in there.
Yep.
Like
like and Robert Downey Jr. Like just every time you like they change scenes to someone, you're like, oh my gosh, that's that guy. Oh my gosh, it's that guy. I think they did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Definitely deserved all the awards and then some for it. Honorable mention on my sports side, Moneyball. Moneyball's like
great film.
I love Moneyball. I love sports. I love sports stats. I love how they changed, revolutionized the way baseball is played. I just didn't think cinematography like wasn't as good as Miracle.
I don't know if it was a story I would have wanted to see on film, to be honest with you. I know you liked it, but
it's not for everyone, and I acknowledge that because I'm a nerd. I'm a sports nerd. Yeah. So that's why it worked for me so well.
So another one of my honorable mention that we both watched this last summer, so about a year ago now, Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, fantastic film.
Great film. Really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend.
Great message and great film. It's one of the prime examples of you can make a film with a powerful, important message and still make it a good movie.
Yeah, I think it is a Christian work, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that there is like this idea of like, we need to shove the Christianity down their throat. And like it was there, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't like in your face. And like you even see this on the other side of the spectrum, on the Christian side of making films, we're kind of terrible at it because we feel like we have to shove the Christian message down your throat. On the other side of it, we feel like we have to shove a left-wing or progressive agenda down your throat in making this film. And I'm like, just make good stories.
Yeah, a good story with a good message will carry you far. Another movie, National Treasure. That was kind of like I was between that and Speed Racer. I just love Nick Cage.
National Treasure 2?
1. The first one's my
favorite.
But
then he became a national treasure. Yeah. With National Treasure 2.
They're talking about making a third one, supposedly. But no, I love Nick Cage. I think it was a great movie. My parents got it for me when we went on a trip of the East Coast, so I got to see the places that he was doing, so I loved that. A Knight's Tale was another one that almost made the list. I got a poster of that one. Yeah. Seeing that in Austria with Dr. Haas. All of us drinking a beer for the Chivalry and Knighthood class in his house, just watching it. It was
my third honorable mention, The Passion of Christ.
Theology major.
Yeah, you've got to see it. All right, number 1 film. 5.
Top Gun. Godfather.
Yep.
So
Top Gun didn't even make honorable mention this time?
No. Maverick probably should have, because that was great.
Wow.
Top Gun should have too. I just didn't even think about it. We were going through so many, and I didn't want to spend too long on any one thing. But no, I love Top Gun. I love Maverick. I think Maverick was a great jumping off of Top Gun. It
leaves a lot of open room to tell more stories if they want to go that route.
My rule for sequels when it comes to TV shows, video games, or movies is you acknowledge the first one, you jump off of where it was, you do not wallow in it. You have little sparks, and that's why I think Maverick did well. But let's talk about the original. Talk about why it's your favorite.
I love Top Gun because of the score.
Mm-hmm.
I like movies with good scores.
Kenny Loggins, fantastic.
Yeah. There's obviously the shirtless volleyball scene that just doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you fall on the sexual orientation spectrum. It's just a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. But no, the story as a whole, this story of like friendship, camaraderie, and
couple that with loss on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all in some ways lost a friend. Maybe not in the same extent, but we've lost touch with someone,
mm-hmm.
and we feel that sense of loss. And how do we come back from that? How do we move forward?
Especially when you have loss that it's not just loss, it's guilt.
Yeah,
gut wrenching. My fault.
That was loud. But when you've lost and you knew there was something you could have done different.
Yeah, and that's the worst. The hindsight 2020. How do you move on from that? And I think they did a great job.
Yeah, it was a great film. Once again, Fighter Pilots is the backdrop.
Yeah, but they still make it look great.
Yeah, and I mean, Danger Zone, Highway to Danger Zone, Top Gun.
Boys.
Yeah, Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick was also great film. But there's nothing like the OG.
Yeah, I feel that.
So
I'm going to say the same thing with mine, because with The Godfather, everyone talks about how good Godfather 2 was, and it was a fantastic film as well. Godfather 3 we don't really talk about, but the first one, 1972, Francis Ford Coppola, it's just this idea of you got Michael Corleone trying to resist. He's broken away from the family as far as he's gotten out of the family business, and Vito his age and trying to hold on to the past and keep a good thing going. We don't need to start getting into drugs. We'll keep it in the family. We're gonna do things the way we are. And just there's so many layers to it. It's just such a well-rounded story, and for the first time you never know what's going to happen, but everything is done with such precision and detail. You would think it's a Kubrick film, the way it was, like how painstakingly it was done editing. And you just have this idea of the aging patriarch transfers control of his empire to his son, who doesn't want to do this, but he's really freaking good at it.
Yeah.
And again, there's all these layers. You have Sonny, you have Michael, and you have Tom, and there's other people there too. But those like the three primary characters who are kind of in this weird spot of, well, what happens now that Dad's out of the game? It should go to Sonny because he's the one who's involved. He's the older. But then you got Michael, who's actually the one who's best suited to it. You got Tom, who's not blood, but he should be. I love it. Yeah. I watch it at least once a year. It's the biggest movie poster I have.
We do like a good mafia movie in this friendship.
Yes.
I think you need to watch The Offer.
I do. We've talked about this many times, and I just haven't.
If you haven't seen The Offer, it's about the making of The Godfather. And let me tell you, just the making of this film itself is an amazing story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, The Godfather's a great film. We need to have another Godfather. What we should do? We should do a live Godfather watch and reaction and commentary on our eventual Patreon channel.
Shameless plug for a future thing that doesn't exist yet. But yeah, I mean, I'd be down for doing something like that. I love that movie.
We can make the pasta sauce.
It's an event. I get up super
wear the
early.
White wife beaters.
Yep. You gotta wear boxers, a white wife beater. You get up early in the morning. You start shaving the garlic with the.
We're not talking about Goodfellas.
No, but it's the best way to make it. You just make it's an all-day affair. The whole house smells like Italy, even though the fact I'm as white as white bread can get from the north.
You're pretty white.
But I make a mean pasta sauce.
Yeah. Well, I think we've exhausted the topic of movies. I don't even know where we're at time-wise. But
it's been about a half hour or so.
Yeah.
So I think our call to action is pretty self-explanatory here.
Go and make content instead of consuming it.
No. Go watch a good movie.
Go watch a good movie and
find a friend to watch it with if you can. Movies are best enjoyed.
You know what? Don't watch a movie by yourself.
Yeah.
My call to action with this: find a good movie, watch it with a friend, and discuss what you like about it. Because all of the movies that I have mentioned here stick with me because of the people I've watched them with.
Mm-hmm. And if you haven't watched it with someone, if someone else has seen the movie with you, I love talking about movies and the deeper meanings with it. The inside jokes you can have. Exactly. Like the fact that one of my best friends, the bridesmaid at my wedding, her nickname is Goose.
Bridesman.
Yeah, sorry. She was a groomsmaid. Sorry, my bad. She got the nickname Goose because we want our friendship started by watching Top Gun at 2 a.m. when we were in Austria. I'm her Maverick. She's my Goose.
Goose.
It's to the point where people didn't even know what her actual name was. They just said, "Oh, it's Goose." So. Yeah. But yeah, so watch a good movie. Watch it with someone. Watch a good movie and watch it with someone. If you need recommendations for a good film, pick one of ours, or throw something in the comments. Ask away. What type of movies do you like? I have a huge library of movies that I can recommend for just about every genre. Anything I can't recommend that's on my wheelhouse, my wife likes because we don't like the same kind of movies at all. No, she likes rom-coms. Rom-coms, anything past 1995. Yeah, pretty much. Anything older than that, she doesn't like. Yep, pretty much. All right, so. Let's talk about how we're enriching our lives. How are we going deeper this week? Yeah, this one's been a struggle because I literally woke up at 5 a.m. this morning to finish cleaning out my classroom. So the brain fog is starting to set in. Might also be the fears, but how am I enriching my life this week? Come back to me. Let's go to you. Okay. I got to think about this for a second. For me, it has been, like you said, we're going through this transition of, I'm no longer a teacher. I'm now going into this full-time ministry work. And it is, the way I've been enriching my life is I've been really having to pray for patience. I talked about how I was doing these meetings with these committees that shouldn't have to be committees, in my opinion. That's just that's the business mind. And they're so inefficient, and it's people who are set in their ways of how they want to run the church and things like that. And it's really taken me given me the opportunity to pray for patience. I've been praying for patience, and God doesn't give you what He wants you; He gives you opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
In this instance, I've been saying, Lord, patience is virtue that I struggle with, which I found out is not a cardinal virtue.
Yeah.
But it's something I really struggle with. And God decided to give it to me by making these hour-long meetings that end up being hour and a half, 2-hour-long meetings that should have been a 15-minute conversation with 2 people. But it's frustrating. It's a struggle.
Yeah.
But it is really giving me the opportunity. God, give me the grace to get through this meeting, to understand what's going on here, and to appreciate the opinions of other people, even if they have a different opinion from what I have, especially on how to go about something. Because I'm very efficient. How do we do this effectively? How do we do this with the least, fewest meetings as possible, fewest people involved for the maximum effect? And they're really, one of the things they were talking about was it's for a charitable ministry that we're doing. It's, are we being the face of God to people? And this might take a few extra steps to make sure that it's done right, but we want to make sure it's done right so that way it's as painless as possible for these people who've gone through such hardships. And when they phrased it like that, I was like, I hate this. The business part of me hates this, but it makes the most sense, and it's beautiful the way that these people have this desire to serve, and they are willing to take that extra step. So that's been kind of like my going deeper, is really praying about patience. How do I acknowledge and respect the opinions of the people who I might not agree with and move past it?
Yeah. All right. For mine, one of the things that I have been doing more of as of late is looking at sacred art. So I'm in an art class right now for college, right? And I think having to take the time to actually sit there and look at something for longer than 2 seconds, because our brains are so trained to
instant gratification.
I have to look at a work of art for 15, 20 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and try to go into what's the perspective on this? What is the artist trying to make us see?
What was the purpose in it, and then what is
what are the quirks in there that might be pointing to something that the artist wants us to notice? And how might this inform us more about our faith, life, this moment in time or history? And so I really just over the last couple of weeks in this class, really been taking the time to spend more time with art, spend more time with
being contemplative.
Yeah, trying to have that more contemplative attitude towards any media I'm consuming, but especially towards the visual media of art. So,
yeah, I dig it.
So,
well, thanks for sticking around for this. I know this is kind of a different, and it was just talking us, shooting the shit about our favorite movies, but
we had some jokes along the way.
Yeah, I hope that we've inspired you to take some time, cut out the 20-minute TV show for a little bit. Take the time to sit down, watch a good 2-hour movie, and really soak in the art that is cinematography and audio and visual, and how it all melds together to tell a story.
Yeah. So next time, join us for What If We
talked about the end of an era.
The end of an era, the end of teaching.
The end of teaching for both of us.
The end of teaching for both of us. So cheers.
Sláinte. Thanks for joining us. Have a beautiful night.